Alright guys, so in this video I'm gonna talk about when you can expect to see results as a beginner, and you can expect to see results pretty quickly, like within a couple of months, if you nail down, no matter what you do essentially, because you're starting out and you're in that newbie phase gains where the muscle build and training stimulus is very new to your body, so you're just gonna gain weight or gain muscle pretty much no matter what you do. I have never ever seen anyone who didn't gain muscle just doing everything wrong in the beginning. But ideally, you nail down like the foundation for what you're gonna need later on. And if you do so in the beginning, you're also gonna make faster progress overall. Just so it's a good idea to nail down your training, and that's kind of difficult because you most likely want to try out a bunch of different things, right? When you start now, that's what I did anyway. But at least if you understand that like there is different tiers of exercises, like there are certain exercises which are very good, like big compound movements which hit a bunch of different muscles at once. And then there's like the smaller isolation movements which are useful, I suppose, depending on what you're doing. If you're just trying to gain weight, they're pretty much useless. Like you just want to focus on the compound movements in the beginning especially, but even today this is all I do. I focus on the compound movements, chin-ups, push-ups, and squats. That's what I do anyway. And that's what I've been doing pretty much throughout my entire training journey. Then I had different exercises here and there, but this has been the core of my training schedule, right? And then there's diet, which is as simple or as complicated as training. It all depends on what you make it out to be. So some simple rules to follow is to eat good foods. So eat the foods you see fitness people eat. So chicken, different sorts of meats, beef, pork, fish, complex carbs like rice, whole grain bread, different sorts of vegetables. To start out, if you want to keep it super simple, you can essentially just start with like a take on the stereotypical chicken, broccoli, and rice meal. There's a lot of wisdom in that meal. You could probably eat that if you wanted to for the rest of your days, and you'll make great progress. And that's because it contains a lot of protein, which is number 2, which is all you have to really focus on apart from eating good foods. So avoid all the garbage foods, right? Fast food, candy, etc. You want to focus on eating good, high protein meals. That's really as simple as diet. In the beginning, your body will automatically, most likely, acclimate just via appetite. So as you go over to eating the good foods, you'll just start eating until you're full, pretty much. And that's your maintenance level. And then you want to eat a little more than usual, and that way bulk up. For beginners, this happens automatically. I think that happened for me anyway, and people I've seen. So automatically, for some reason, you just start eating a little more. Maybe that's because you understand by watching videos here and there that you have to eat in a surplus in order to gain weight or muscle in this case, which is true. So you have to eat in a surplus. You have to take in more energy than you burn, in simple terms. So that's really it. Eat good foods, focus on protein, and eat in a surplus. Unless you're overweight to begin with, you don't have to cut, and you don't have to worry about cutting for a year or two, really. Like if you just keep your calorie surplus to a minimal, like 200 to 300 calories, which looks like 2 eggs and a piece of bread. So eat that on top of what you normally eat, right? Your maintenance level, which you find over a couple of weeks, I suppose, just eating, following your appetite. Typically, you add 200, 300 calories on top of that, and you're in a surplus. And then you just want to stay there, really, for like at least a year in most cases. And you will avoid gaining fat, or at least you'll gain minimal fat compared to all the muscle you'll gain. All right, so that's training and nutrition. Then you want to sleep tight or sleep good. And that's a complicated area that I don't know much about, but I know you want to avoid stress, right? It's like, yeah, okay, fine. How do I do that exactly? And that's a whole different thing. But an easy piece of advice you can follow is to wake up at the same time each day. That teaches your body that to have like a stable rhythm, right? That helped me anyway. So those three things are really all you need to know. And then you want to stay consistent, which is probably the most important thing. Be patient, and then just stay with it for a long time, and you'll make plenty of gains. What most new people do is, and where they fuck up, myself included, especially myself included, was being impatient and like waiting around to see results, wanting to see results week to week. And that's not going to happen for most people. If any people, like, build muscle is super slow. And what happens to a lot of people in the beginning is that they think by eating more food, they gain more muscle or whatever. And yeah, you will get bigger, but guess what? All that weight will just be fat. So you'll just become fatter and fatter and fatter, because your body can only build so much muscle at any given time. And it actually wants to do as much as possible not to gain muscle, because I suppose it doesn't really do much. Like, you have to force your body to build muscle, in other words. Like, your body just wants to remain in equilibrium and maintain its weight, or gain fat as excess energy, It's difficult to gain muscle. It's going to take a long time. So stay patient. And then the question is, well, how do you do that exactly? And that's a whole nother question. Meditate maybe. I don't know. Stay patient, man. The results will come if you follow those five things that I just outlined. Train properly, eat properly, sleep good, stay consistent, and stay in it for the long term. And then results will come in time, and it's going to take months and years to build up a good amount of muscle mass. That's what you have to understand. All these 3-month transformations, I don't believe it, man. I think a lot of it is bullshit, honestly. For most people, that's not the case anyway. And you never know if these people are just bullshitting you. Like, 3 months, that's typically not going to do that much for you. You're going to see results, sure, but nothing major. Like a year, perhaps, and you'd have made good progress. Yeah, you can maybe expect to gain like 10 kilos, 25 pounds of muscle in the first year, which is definitely a lot, if not more for some people. Depends on your genetics, right? But yeah, be patient, man. That's the most important thing when it comes to wanting to see results as a beginner, because unless you cultivate patience, which I suppose you do by believing in the process, like believing what you're doing is the right thing to do in this moment, then you're just going to jump around on all kinds of different workout programs, all kinds of different diets, and nothing seems to work. And the reason nothing works is because you did the exact thing you weren't supposed to do, which is what I did, jumping around for months and months and months, seeing no results. And the reason you don't see results is because you just didn't stay with the basics. Stick with the basics and be patient.